wanted to talk to you about a section entitled in my book Tenant House. We lived in a small flat in a city center of Tarnów, and my mother wanted to get the second flat behind our wall, and she wanted to make a hole in the wall so that we could get another flat and fix the door to combine these two flats. But we were not allowed, and I'm not sure if that was the refusal on the part of the landlord, or if that was the statement from the government saying it was an antique tenant house, because both of these ring a bell. But the landlord himself, I was told by my sister that he made a hole in the wall to somebody else's flat, and there was a photo of him standing in that wall. That photo landed in a newspaper. So my sister told me that that wasn't normal, because once you rent a flat, you have to have those four walls, that gives you some safety. Not that all of a sudden your landlord will gonna come and say hi standing in your wall. I mean in a hole of the wall. Okay. So our neighbor came around and she told us that the landlord set her door on fire, but we all believed that could have been a lie. And we were also told that each and every tenant should find a new flat and leave the place. And I think after about 22 years I have visited this landlord, because I miss the tenant house, and it was standing as empty as it used to be, because he planned to rent those flats for offices, but for 22 years there has been just one office over there. And when I visited him, I asked him about how do you make it, how do you buy such a tenant house, and how do you make so much money. And he basically told me that in the past there were different times and people didn't think about investing, and tenant houses were cheaper. Oh, sure thing, but tenant houses were cheaper back then than they are right now, but they are always expensive, right? And people who have money always think about investing, no matter in what times they live in. Right. My sister also met his niece in a foreign country, and she learned that he had been to America, and he got back to Poland. He bought this tenant house for his beloved woman, and unfortunately for so many years he's still alone, and the entire place is just pretty much empty. And as we lived over there was a very sad story, of I'll call her Anya's story, who is a very, very nice person and a very giving person, but she didn't work, and when being a 50 years old woman, she came to my mother to tell her that she was sexually abused by her own brother, who would give her the money for that. And then that brother of her denies all of that, and my mother would say, not even directly to Anya, but to everyone around, that she might have made it up, which I believe is really unfair, because obviously these women just don't say things like that, because one thing it's about sex for money, and one thing it's about sex within the family, when it's it's overcrossing when you think about yourself that you are sick because you did that. Once you did that for money, once you did that with your father, so you're sick. And there is some, these are two factors playing in that story very strongly. So I really admire her that she admitted that and she found the courage to say, and I'm sorry that she didn't get the support. But even back then, when we were little children and she would come, she would sometimes borrow the money, like food from us too. And knowing that she was in need, we were told to hide the plates with food because she was coming. Or everything was taken off the table because she was coming. Yeah. So yeah, of course, there's more to Anya's story, and it's a more even more complex story than that. Yeah. So the rest of the story you will find in the book.